Today on the Transfer Talk Show, we're going to be talking about outgoings mainly. Obviously, Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay have been heavily linked with moves to West Ham. A bid has been, submitted and rejected by United, so we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Donny van de Beek and a potential stumbling block between Manchester United and Real Sociedad. And we've also got Fulham coming back in for Fred. So let's get right into it. Now, so let's start with Harry Maguire, and of course we do know Manchester United, deem him surplus to requirements at Old Trafford this year, and West Ham are the main suitors. David Moyes is a big fan of Harry Maguire. He wants to bring him to the club, and look, we have seen, potential back and forth between Manchester United over the last few weeks, and look, reports are surfacing over the last day or so, and to be honest, I'm not surprised given, how I think disrespectful Manchester United fans were to Harry Maguire with the boos over pre-season. I think it was completely uncalled for. But it does sound like Harry Maguire is open now to a move to West Ham. He is supposedly excited about a move, to play under David Moyes again, so on and so forth. We've heard it all before. And look, I go back to what I've said previously. I think it would be a good move for Harry Maguire. I think it would be a good move for West Ham. And I think it would be a good move for Manchester United. We're obviously looking to go back and reinvest that money into the transfer market. We'll talk about a potential replacement for Maguire in a moment. But I suppose the stumbling block that we could potentially be looking at here is Harry Maguire's wages. They're looking at around anywhere between 30 to 35 million, and Manchester United are happy enough with that valuation as well. The stumbling block is the fact that Manchester United are paying Harry Maguire £190,000 a week at the moment, and West Ham are prepared to offer in or around the 100 grand a week valuation. So, and that's coming from Laurie Whitwell as well in the Athletic. So, look, I mean, there is of course a discussion to be had between Maguire and West Ham. It depends what Maguire wants in terms of wages as well. But look, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that he is not going to be first choice at Manchester United in the upcoming season. We've seen throughout pre-season as well, obviously he got stripped of the captaincy, but we've seen other players have captained the side when Harry Maguire has been playing as well. I think we've seen Scott McTominay, and I think Tom Heaton was it on in the game in Dublin on Sunday as well. So look, I think it's time for him to move on. I really do. Let's talk about, while we're on West Ham, we'll also talk about Scott McTominay. Now, look, reports were suggested that Manchester United have rejected a 30 million bid from West Ham for Scott McTominay, and that's coming from Fabrizio Romano yesterday. Manchester United value him closer to 40 to 45 million. But, I mean, I do think Manchester United are going to be open to a deal. Obviously, we've seen the connections and the rumours linking us with Sofyan Amrabat, and we've said on multiple occasions that it's more than likely going to be players out before we get players in, especially now in midfield. We've got the three primary targets, you would say, in terms of a goalkeeper, a central midfielder and a striker, and any subsequent targets now are going to be, on the back of sales, you would think, given all of this FFP, conversations that we've heard. But again, I think Scott McTominay falls into a very similar category, as does Harry Maguire. Supposedly, this is coming from Sky Sports today as well, that there was supposedly a joint verbal bid for Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Supposedly from Sky Sports that United or West Ham will have to pay United up to £85 million if they want both players as well, which, look, you would say is a lot of money. West Ham are debating whether they're going to go back in for Scott McTominay or whether they're going to turn their attention to James Ward-Prowse of Southampton, of course. And, again, I mean, this is something that we've discussed before. Manchester United are digging their heels in, and they're not getting took advantage of quite as easily as we have in previous years in the transfer window, and I'm very happy with that. But you do have to strike a balance here as well. You don't want any potential suitors for the likes of Scott McTominay or Harry Maguire or whoever else it may be walking away from the negotiating table just because you're holding out for an extra 5, 6, 7 million, whatever it may be. We do want to invest in the squad. We want to reinvest any money we make, and the quicker we can do that, the quicker Ten Hag can, I suppose, put a team out or a squad out on, on the field that he envisages as his own more than anything else. But look, I do think there's a high chance of Scott McTominay potentially leaving, along with Harry Maguire as well. In relation to the, I suppose, to the centre-back area, and we've talked, of course, about Harry Maguire leaving. A potential replacement for Harry Maguire, if he does leave, is going to be Jean-Claude Todibo. And he's been tipped and linked with a lot of clubs in Europe throughout the last, I suppose, few weeks. And I think he's a very good footballer, I won't lie. Now, look, of course, we've seen Johnny Evans getting a short-term deal at Manchester United for pre-season. I wouldn't be surprised if we give him a one-year deal, but I do think if Harry Maguire goes, we are going to have to go out and sign another top centre-back target, and this guy certainly falls into that bracket. He's, attracted interest from a number of clubs, over the transfer window, but United have are supposedly very well placed if we do sell Harry Maguire. Now, so Fabrizio Romano is reporting that the outgoings will free up room and funds for further signings, with Todibo and Fiorentina midfielder Sofyan Amrabat high on the club's list of priorities. So again, look, we've got what, about a little over 3 weeks to go left in the Premier or in the transfer window, so I do think there can be deals done. Again, I go back to what I've said previously, that it's more than likely going to be outgoings that go before incomings come in. But I do think that Todibo would be a fantastic signing for Manchester United. You would have 4 really good centre-backs that you could rely on. Then, of course, Varane and Martinez. Then you're talking about Lindelof and Todibo. But then Johnny Evans being the 5th, if something, if you do suffer some injuries throughout the season and things like that. So let's talk about the goalkeeping situation as well at the moment. And of course, we heard that, Dean Henderson, is obviously wants to move. I think Manchester United want to sell him. But we did hear that Nottingham Forest did turn their attention to other areas. But reports are suggesting today that Nottingham Forest move for Manchester United goalkeeper Dean Henderson is still on, despite the club reaching an agreement to sign Arsenal's Matt Turner. Of course, we do know that Henderson spent last season on loan. Look, I do think Dean Henderson will go. I think it's important that he goes on the back of what he said about the club last season or last summer. I don't want him playing for Manchester United again. I don't think he wants to play for Manchester United again, and I don't think Erik Ten Hag wants him around. I don't think he's now again, I'm only looking at this from the outside in. He doesn't look like a kind of a player that you would want to have in your dressing room in terms of squad morale. So, yeah, I think it is important that we move him on. But again, Manchester United are going to have to maybe go back into the market before the end of the season or before the end of the transfer window and look at a potential number 2 goalkeeper. We did see that Suzuki, the Japanese goalkeeper, turned down a move to a Belgian league to get more game time. He doesn't want to come in as a number 2. Tom Heaton has basically said that he's going to be staying. Ten Hag wants him to stay as well. But we are going to have to add another goalkeeper to the ranks if Dean Henderson does go. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there as well. But look, that's it for now, guys. There has been some reports there as well about Fred potentially leaving, and of course we did see that there's been some snags in a potential move from Fred to Manchester United to Galatasaray, but we have heard reports today as well suggesting that Fulham are ready to come back in and enter the fray for him. They do want to sign him. It is all going to be based around what kind of a deal they can get for him, how much they can spend on him, because I think I think 15 million is what they were potentially quoted previously. So look, it's going to be interesting to see. I do think the midfield is going to be the main area of concern over the next few weeks. We're going to probably see the majority of movement there, and of course then our centre back. If Harry Maguire does decide to leave, we're more than likely going to have to get in and on. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys, about all of this. We'll be back tonight from 7:30 to go through all of the Manchester United news and transfer news in depth. So make sure you're tuning into that. Please hit the like and subscribe button. I appreciate it. We're on the road to 4,000 subscribers, and with your help we can get there, so I appreciate it. But yeah, I'll speak to you all tonight. Take care.